I went to a concert upstairs in Town Hall. The composer whose works were being performed had provided program notes. One of these notes was to the effect that there is too much pain in the world. After the concert, I was walking along with the composer, and he was telling me how the performances had not been quite up to snuff. So I said, well, I enjoyed the music, but I didn't agree with that program note about there being too much pain in the world. He said, what? Don't you think there's enough? I said, I think there's just the right amount. During recent years, Daisetsu Tato Suzuki has done a great deal of lecturing at Columbia University. First he was in the Department of Religion, then somewhere else. Finally he settled down on the 7th floor of Philosophy Hall. The room had windows on two sides, a large table in the middle with ashtrays. There were chairs around the table and next to the walls. These were always filled with people listening, and there were generally a few people standing near the door. The 2 or 3 people who took the class for credit sat in chairs around the table. The time was 4 to 7. During this period, most people now and then took a little nap. Suzuki never spoke loudly when the weather was good. The windows were open and the airplanes leaving LaGuardia flew directly overhead from time to time, drowning out whatever he had to say. He never repeated what had been said during the passage of the airplane. 3 lectures I remember in particular. While he was giving them, I couldn't for the life of me figure out what he was saying. It was a week or so later, while I was walking in the woods looking for mushrooms, that it all dawned on me. Once, when I was to give a talk at Columbia Teachers College, I asked Joseph Campbell whether I should say something. I forget now what it was I was thinking of saying. He said, where is the should? Staying in India and finding the sun unbearable, Mrs. Kumaraswamy decided to shop for a parasol. She found 2 in the town nearby. One was in the window of a store dealing in American goods. It was reasonably priced and unattractive. The other was in an Indian store, with Indian made desirable and outlandish and expensive. Mrs. Kumaraswamy went back home without buying anything, but the weather continued dry and hot, so that a few days later she went again when the town determined to make a purchase. Passing by the American shop, she noticed their parasol was still in the window, still reasonably priced. Going into the Indian shop, she asked to see the one she had admired a few days before. While she was looking at it, the price was mentioned. This time it was absurdly low. Surprised, Mrs. Kumaraswamy said, how can I trust you? One day your prices are up, the next day they're down. Perhaps your goods are equally undependable. Madam, the storekeeper replied, the people across the street are new in business. They are intent on profit. Their prices are stable. We, however, have been in business for generations. The best things we have we keep in the family, for we are reluctant to part with them. As for our prices, we change them continually. That's the only way we've found in business to keep ourselves interested. Schoenberg always complained that his American pupils didn't do enough work. There was one girl in the class, in particular, who, it is true, did almost no work at all. He asked her one day why she didn't accomplish more. She said, I don't have any time. He said, how many hours are there in the day? She said, 24. He said, nonsense. There are as many hours in a day as you put into it. You probably know the one about the two monks, but I'll tell it anyway. They were walking along one day when they came to a stream where a young lady was waiting, hoping that someone would help her across. Without hesitating, one of the monks picked her up and carried her across, putting her down safely on the other side. The two monks continued walking along, and after some time, the second one, unable to restrain himself, said to the first, "You know, we're not allowed to touch women. Why did you carry that woman across the stream?" The first monk replied, "Put her down. I did 2 hours ago." MC Richards went to see the Bolshoi ballet. She was delighted with the dancing. She said, "It's not what they do, it's the ardor with which they do it." I said, "Yes, composition, performance, and audition or observation are really different things. They have next to nothing to do with one another." Once I told her I was at a house on Riverside Drive where people were invited to be present at a Zen service conducted by a Japanese Roshi. He did the ritual, rose petals and all. Afterwards, tea was served with rice cookies. And then the hostess and her husband, employing an out-of-tune piano and cracked voice, gave a wretched performance of an excerpt from a third-rate Italian opera. I was embarrassed and glanced towards the Roshi to see how he was taking it. The expression on his face was absolutely beatific. One evening, I was walking along Hollywood Boulevard, nothing much to do. I stopped and looked in a window of a stationery shop. A mechanized pen was suspended in space in such a way that, as a mechanized roll of paper passed by it, the pen went through the motions of the same exercises I had learned as a child in the 3rd grade. Centrally placed in the window was an advertisement explaining the mechanical reasons for the perfection of the operation of the suspended mechanical pen. I was fascinated, for everything was going wrong. The pen was tearing the paper to shreds and splattering in ink all over the window and on the advertisement, which nevertheless remained legible.